evening.
Hello!
How do you do this?
Hello, friends. Hello, Chris. My name is Cynthia. Oh, I'd already introduced you. You're Chris.
I'm Chris. That makes me Chris. It's
that would be Chris. We're only two, so you should be Chris, and I should be Cynthia, right? Is that right?
We could swap for the day.
Oh goodness, no, that would be too confusing.
My boobs, my boobies, my knockers.
All right. Moving on. Oh goodness gracious, Chris, how are you doing?
I'm all right. Everything's good. The world is still freezing cold in England, but never mind.
It's cold in France too.
But at least,
depressing.
I mean, at least you're in France. Is that a good thing? I don't know.
But it's raining.
Oh, we had rain earlier. We don't. Let's not talk about the weather.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about the weather. We're not talking about the weather. All right. I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I had a brain freeze.
You tell everyone who our guest is today.
That's right. That's usually me. Why don't you say who we're having today? Why is it always me?
That's not my job. That's your job.
All right, my job is we are going to welcome Pana Thitaram, and he is a great scenic designer, and he's done a lot of cool shit. We love that, and he's a cool guy. And we love that too. And so we're going to talk to him in a couple of minutes. But first, you need to like, follow, subscribe, slightly fondle.
Slightly press.
Oh, sorry. Slightly press. Same
fondle.
thing. Slightly fondle, slightly. We were talking about fondling earlier. Fondle. So slightly press TETV. And to be able to get all of our show updates, all of the channel updates, because there's lots of really cool shows on TETV. So there you go. What? I didn't hear you.
I said ours is the coolest.
Yeah, ours is the coolest. I know. Shh, don't tell anyone. Shh.
Anyway, would you like to think about what I've been thinking about?
I would love to pick your brain, Chris. It is the highlight of my 2 weeks.
Doubt it.
Please let me pick your brain.
Well, there's two. There's a discussion one, and there's just one that popped into my head. And so the one that popped into my head, we're going to do that first because that's more of a statement than something to be discussed. And a load of internet slang has died, entirely. And when I first started being on the internet when I was at school, and you things like MSN Messenger and that kind of stuff, and you'd be like, oh, BRB when you go AFK, and be right back away from keyboard, and because you're going to the toilet. But now we take the internet to the toilet with us. So there's so much slang that was coined and now is utterly useless.
It's true.
Except for the people that actually say LOL, as in they say, oh, lol, in a conversation. That drives me insane.
Yeah. Oh, does it? It does me too. I or those that actually say LOL.
Yeah. Why? Just laugh. The whole point of it is expressing that you're laughing out loud, so just laugh. Or you get it the other way around now, where you're on a Zoom call doing tons of stuff. This is turning into a rant, and everyone's on the thing, and you've got your side message open with someone else that's on the call, and they're absolutely deadpan face, just looking at it like that.
And they type,
and you get a message through, and they're going, LOL, LMAO, LMFAO. What? Exactly. It's mental. Anyway.
Lol. So normally I'm the one that rants, and you just took out a rant. But that's fine. I can share.
Because I'm watching TikTok, David. We all know that.
David.
Do you not just sit on the toilet and browse the internet and just be
I do. And you know what? It's funny. TikTok. Yeah. One time my son was sitting on the toilet for so long that he actually lost feeling in his legs.
Oh, I do that like every time I go. And I end up with my back seizing as well, because as you know, I get like a very bad back being tall as hell. And if I sit in the same position for too long, which tends to happen when you're sat on the toilet, then this is going into far too much detail.
This is going into far too much detail.
I walk out like I've literally shat myself because my back is in so much pain because it's seized in the same position.
I can't believe this show. Oh my God.
Anyway, so my other
shower thought.
Oh God. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Becca. David does send me literally hundreds of TikToks a day. So the other shower thought, which is far more important and more conversational, is that like we have a sausage sandwich in the UK, which is your normal sort of sandwich with some hot sausages, butter, maybe a bit of cheese, probably a little bit of brown, and that's your sandwich. But technically, a hot dog is still a sandwich.
Yeah.
I thought that would be more contentious.
No.
Because
not for me.
Oh, should we bring on our guest and ask Pana if he thinks?
Yeah, we can. I guess I may be a little bit too European, but meat between two pieces of bread is a sandwich for me.
Thank you. Right.
But let's ask Pana. Pana? No, because a taco isn't bread.
And that's a taco's wrapped as well. That's more of a wrap than it is a sandwich. A sandwich is. Oh no, I might be defeating my own point there, because a hot dog is not a sliced in half bun. That's a sliced.
No, but it's bread. I'm saying it's bread. A taco, the taco patty is not bread.
Here's a Pana.
It is flour and water.
Pana.
Hi, Pana. Welcome to Unsung Heroes.
Boop, boop. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So what do you think?
Hot dogs or hot dog sandwiches?
The hot dog, in my opinion, is a sandwich. It is meat surrounded by pieces of bread. And if you could, argue that it's a bun, like served like a little, But if you look at the lobster roll from New England, it is served on what is basically a giant hot dog bun. It's considered a sandwich as well.
So my contentious point now is a burger is not a sandwich.
A burger is a sandwich, I think.
Yeah, but a burger is a burger as long as it has gherkin in, I believe is the terminology that McDonald's use. It's a sandwich until it has gherkin in it, and then it becomes a burger.
What?
No, it's a sandwich.
I definitely read that somewhere. Maybe it was in a dream.
We'll that's not a thing. Kelly is saying it's not a thing.
That sounds like
we shall research that and come back to our fans at the next show. Well, no, David, so hot dog is a bun, but let me tell you this. When you go to McDonald's and you get the English muffin, is that a sandwich? For me, it's a sandwich because it's two pieces of bread put together.
But muffin's not bread.
Well, muffin is bread in that way, in the way it's cooked and the way it's used.
But then that means like a scone or a scone is
no, because an English muffin is not a muffin. An English muffin is like this.
I'm thinking of like a McDonald's breakfast muffin.
Yeah, but with eggs, it's this round.
Yeah,
it's like a round thing
but
about this.
English muffin is like a sweet treat, isn't it?
Right.
Like icing on the top.
But we call those English muffins, those bread things that you buy at
yeah, and then you
McDonald's.
also call some god awful tea English breakfast tea, and that's just an insult.
Yeah, that's Earl Grey. I think it's Earl Grey, the English breakfast tea.
So if you get that in the UK, is it just called breakfast tea?
No, it's called tea.
Oh.
Like I mean, you can call it. Some people call it the builder's brew, but like your standard Tetleys, your PG Tips. PG Tips is my personal favourite. Your Yorkshire Tea Company, like they're all English breakfast teas, but you drink them all day. And Earl Grey is a completely different. But an American English breakfast tea doesn't even touch the size of a standard, even in the Tetleys, and Tetleys are the worst. It's just Twinings being nerdy and be like, oh, aren't we so special? No, you're not.
Do you guys do iced tea?
Well, it's too cold as a climate. We do have it, like Lipton's iced tea with the different flavourings, but there's absolutely no way in hell I'd ever order an iced tea anywhere in the world. But my old man, he orders an iced tea every time he's in the States.
Oh, I always order iced tea in the States. Non-sweetened.
Yeah, I'm a Southerner, so I mean, it better come out looking like pancake syrup over ice. So that's the way we like it.
I don't drink soda, and so and I think the water tastes disgusting in the U.S. And so I order iced tea because I hate the taste of water in the U.S. I think it's disgusting. The tap water.
Florida being like, you can tell that it used to be a swamp when you drink from a fountain here.
Oh, and you've got what's the
everywhere
bottled water that you can get in Disney? What's the brand called?
Dasani?
Dasani. That is the worst bottled water on the planet. There is nothing more horrific than that water. I would rather drink out of the river going through Magic Kingdom than I would drink that water.
It really is. It's one of the reasons why it was one of the things that weighed in the balance of staying in Europe. When I was thinking about moving back to the States or not, I thought, I do not want to buy bottled water because, for the environment, that I can't fathom that. And drinking the water out of the tap in LA, I know, thank God we're not sponsored by Coca-Cola. I totally agree. But drinking the tap water out of LA, it's horrible. The water is disgusting. And nowhere in the US was I able to find good tasting tap water, even in Crested Butte, Colorado, which is at 9,000 feet, 3,000 meters up in altitude, and I still was not able to find water that tasted like normal water. It's frustrating. Oh my God, I can't even imagine the people that live in areas where there's fracking.
Producers Sarah and Kelly are having a little back and forth in the private chat. An English muffin is a crumpet.
Mm.
And Sarah said a crumpet is a crumpet, which I totally agree with.
But an English muffin for the Americans is a crumpet for you guys.
What?
Your crumpet is our English muffin.
But so what's the one with the frosting on the top?
It's a muffin. Or a cupcake. It's a cupcake.
Jesus Christ.
It's like a biscuit. What you call a cookie is what we call cookies are biscuits, right?
Yeah, and then you have biscuits and gravy, which is scones and white sauce.
No, scones and biscuits are not the same thing.
No.
Not the same thing.
But they are.
No, they're not.
They're a savoury scone.
But it's the interior consistency is different.
I'm put off by the fact that you call gravy something that isn't, and it's not brown. That bothers me a lot.
Gravy is brown-ish.
No, I've seen someone order biscuits and gravy at the table in the States, and it's been a white sauce.
Yeah, it's true. It's a white sauce.
Get out.
Yeah, it's a flour-based white sauce. It's true.
It's a wonderfully rich, meat-laden brownness with some onions, maybe.
I'm just saying, Chris, don't knock it till you try it, man. Have you tried it? When you're here for IAPA, I will take you to get some biscuits and gravy, and you will change your tune.
No, I won't. I mean, I'll happily come with you, but I just don't. I just can't. I can't see that happening. And then you've got something like you've got your biscuits and gravy, and we have gravy and Yorkshire puddings. Now that is a whole different kettle of fish. Like a gorgeous Yorkshire pudding to soak up all your gravy and get all of that meaty goodness off of your plate for those of us that are meat eaters, and then the cold Yorkshire puddings that you didn't use, you can just put a dollop of ice cream on, and then that's dessert. It's like the best thing ever because it's like a risen pancake, and then a bit of ice cream, perfect. There'll be a sauce, of course. Anyway,
I do want to say, Xavier, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. That's how I pronounce it in France. I will come to Chicago and I will taste the tap water. I have not been in every single city in the U.S., so I cannot say that there is no good tap water nowhere in the U.S. So I will say that I will taste it and I will let you know. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yes.
No, we're not moving on.
Yes,
we are reading David. Goodness gracious. Pana, can you please tell us and our audience who you are, what you do, and what makes you an unsung hero?
So I'm Pana Thitaram. I do scenic design. I dabble in a whole bunch of stuff. I got my hands in all kinds of cookie jars everywhere. So whether it's like media design, gaming, and not like video gaming. I make little miniatures for tabletop gaming. So just just sort of a lot of different stuff. I'm also a chef, by the way. I hold a certification as a chef.
Oh my God.
Worked in the industry for a few years.
What's your favorite meal to cook? I have to ask that. What's your favorite thing to cook?
Honestly, currently it's anything my mom used to make because I miss her dearly, and Thai food is like a comfort to me. But otherwise, just about anything. I mean, I love sushi. I love making sushi. I love everything about it. It's so simple. So yeah, it just depends on the week. That's a really kind of off answer to an off question because I mean, it's like trying to say like, who's your favorite child? You're just asking for an ass beating that way.
I have a favorite meal that I cook. It's a chicken breast stuffed with Stilton and spinach, wrapped in bacon with a mushroom white wine sauce. Perfect.
All right, well, that sounds good.
I'm actually enjoying making and succeeding at making a bœuf bourguignon, which is a meat red wine sauced dish that I'm so happy to say this. I never used to cook. I had a boyfriend for 10 years and he was the one that cooked. And I was never allowed to cook because I sucked at cooking. And then when we broke up, when I left him, I had to cook, because you gotta eat.
Yeah.
And he was never able to make a bœuf bourguignon with the meat that just melts in your mouth. And the first time that I tried a bœuf bourguignon, I nailed it.
I'm just going to Englishify that for you, Cynthia. It's going to be, for me, and I know this is wrong, a beef bourguignon.
A bourguignon.
It's like with a nice juice on the top.
No, it's bœuf bourguignon.
Yeah, but I don't say anything in French. Bonjours.
Well, you can try. Jeez, try it. Bourguignon.
Petite déjeuner.
Ne change rien.
Ne change rainy. Ne change rien. Anyway,
yes.
You said tabletop gaming, Pana. And creating, is that figurines or?
Yeah, little 28mm scale miniatures.
Do you have any? Behind you? Because you got a lot of stuff behind you. Do you have any of those little miniatures?
One of my bigger ones. He's
Oh,
the ones you see on the screen right now. I actually did for a client, and if I'm just gonna plug it if you're interested. It's at the Miniature Building Authority, but that's part of their little set of like bartenders and stuff. So
if you ever come to Lyon, there's a Lyon in France. There is number one. It's like the foodie town in all of France. And number two, there is a miniature museum from a guy that actually has worked on a lot of movie sets, doing the building miniature sets, and he's kept a lot of the things. Yes, they have Boeuf Bourguignon there. Shut up. And it's a really cool museum. We're gonna try and go with the TEA to visit the museum maybe this year or next year. We're gonna try.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Stuff is
so Bernard, these characters we've got on screen at the moment, you design them in a 3D package, I'm assuming, and then CNC them or 3D print them?
I do. I design them and then I 3D print them in I'd have resin and PLA plastic or whatever, but these specifically were sent off and cast in, I believe, pewter or metal of some sort.
Oh, cool.
So when you buy them, they're like old school miniatures where like, you buy them and they come with these little bases that you slot them into. But yeah, I mean.
Wow. And for what game did you do this for? Can you say?
Randomly. The company I did them for were mainly, they just build scenery and they sell scenery that can be used for any sort of gaming system. So it's kind of generic, but these guys I just kind of did because I was bored and I thought, hey, what if I had my little dwarf squad to hang out with? Like if I did like an A team, but they were dwarves, what would it look like? So this
is such a wonderful show.
Where's Mr. T? Who's the one that says I pity the fool?
B.A. Baracus, but he does not exist yet. Anyway, yeah. So I kind of stopped after a while, but it's just kind of weird. I mean, things you do in lockdown when you get bored, right?
Right. I learned the guitar.
I love that. I got bored, so I wondered what the A team would look like in dwarven miniatures. That is such a good shower thought, and I did it.
Oh, we did. Oh my goodness! All right, so you create little oh my god, little figurines, and so what else do you do?
Let's see. I do scenic design stuff. I work with Universal Art and Design. Worked on Halloween Horror Nights, making stuff that will scare the crap out of you. That's always fun too, because it sort of breaks all the rules of like what is acceptable in a theme park, right? We normally cater to like children and families, and then you have something that looks like a guy got mauled by a bear, and that's always fun. Like I said, you see some weird things that playing Warcraft with them.
Figurines.
I don't like the computer game.
Well, they look similar, don't they? Can they? So the animation in your 3D build of them on the computer, you theoretically can use that in that sense, right?
I could.
Like it's the same. The same fantasy arena,
right? In fact, when I played WoW, I played as a dwarf, which no big surprise there.
Now I'm just on to the South Park episode, the double episode when they did World of Warcraft, and I've got to curtail myself because otherwise I'll start. We don't need that.
No, we don't need that. We don't need impressions of South Park. No. We don't need no. Mm-mm. Definitely not.
That's how you get.
All right, so Halloween nights.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Halloween Horror Nights. It's just a fun thing to do. I mean, just because there's like it's a small little group of people like, there you go. Look at that. This is like my fam over here. In fact, that's my little buddy over here, Levi Keese, who's standing right next to me in that picture. We're like little partners in crime. We call ourselves the Green Room Boys because the room that we sat in was a green room. But yeah, like these people essentially make Halloween Horror Nights happen every year. And
for those of our viewers that don't know the backdrop to that, could you tell them exactly where you are?
That is Diagon Alley.
Diagonally.
Or diagonally. So yeah, this is at the Universal Orlando Resort.
And what is the favorite thing that you've done at Hollywood Horror Nights?
My favorite has to be in Yeti, Terror of the Yukon. It's probably my favorite thing to have worked on. It's, I don't know. I mean, I've got like little Yeti characters that I like them. They're fun, but in this case, they're horribly violent. There's a scene where this guy's like laid out on this table, and like the Yeti's pulling his guts out, and it's a guy like he's screaming, but his body is sort of hidden. It's great. Plus, it's like just a brilliant little piece of gory fun.
It's funny. My kids growing up in France, they didn't get that culture of going to amusement parks because we're 6 hours away from Disneyland, 4 hours away from Europa Park, so we didn't really have any very close by, and so they didn't grow up with it. And in Europe, the Halloween, when they were growing up, Halloween was not very popular. But we went to, I think it must have been Universal Hollywood, and there's the horror house right at the beginning of the park, across from Shrek. I think that was it. And they didn't want to go in, and I was like, no, you guys have got, they were like 16 and 18, right? Okay, they're old. And I was like, you guys have got to experience this for once in your life. You have to go through a horror house. And I think they still remember it because they were so freaked out. And it was hilarious to see my 16 and 18-year-olds, like, yeah, I'm cool, Mom. I'm not scared of anything. Yeah. And just like jumping on me, trying to get away from whatever was happening. It was hilarious. I really enjoy scaring my children. It's one of my pleasures in life as a mother.
When I went to Dubai on a family holiday once, and we went to one of these centers and there was a horror walkthrough. No one wanted to do the horror walkthrough except me, because I wanted to prove that I was man enough to walk through that horror thing as a 12, 13-year-old.
Nice.
And it harrowed me. Like I was. They had chainsaws. They had chains and all these kind of like freaky everything. Literally everything around me. Like a little bit autistic. Putting myself in a flashing lights and loud environment is not the best of ideas in the first place. So what I thought I was doing, I don't know. I bolted, like after the second scene, it was like an 8 or 9 scene sort of 10-minute walkthrough. And after the second scene, I was gone, and I bolted through the rest of it with people lurching out at me with it just made it more and more scary. And I remember plowing out the final door of it. Like skidding out on my knees, crying and screaming my head off. And my now colleague, Josh, actually just grabbed me out of the middle of the room and ran me back to my dad. And my mum had run through after me to try and catch up, and then found that I was gone on exit. So then realised that someone else probably got me. And my brother's recollection of this is so far different to mine, because I ran, my mum ran, so all of the actors had reacted to us, and they didn't tell the actors that there were 3 people doing the walkthrough. So they thought it was over, and they were going back to reset. And then my brother walked through as a 14-year-old, just like, well, this isn't scary, because you could see all the actors calmly walking around. So he was making the actors jump by just being this little kid with like wide eyes, like looking, expecting for something to make him jump, and everyone else is jumping at him. And he's like, it was fun for me. And then fast forward, like, it must have been 5-6 years later, I went to Thorpe Park for a day. So it's a theme park in the UK. It's not really a theme park. It's a collection of rides that they claim is a theme park. It's not great. The rides are good, but there's no proper theming. It doesn't really work. And they hadn't heavily advertised it. It was just open late. No one said anywhere, as far as I could see from banners or whatever. I saw nothing that said they were doing a fright night. And then someone jumped out of a hedge wearing the pig face mask from Saw.
Yes.
In front of me. And I hit that actor so hard, like literally with all of my might, because that is, like, I can't stand people in masks. And I wouldn't have gone if I knew that was going to happen. But that's the worst one for me, that pig face in Saw. And I proper... I was 6'7", and I punched this kid with all of my might, and I fell to bits with like guilt once I realised what happened. And I said to them, you need to have something that says, like, that I can wear that says "Don't scare me," because I will get violent, and I don't want to hurt anyone. And the next year, we went back around the same time, but they were heavily advertising the Fright Nights because they were so successful. I'm like, if you don't want to be scared, go to any one of the kiosks and get a big red band on your wrist. So I was walking around with this band like it was my protector. Please, just let me ride on the roller coasters because that's what I'm here for. I don't want you to go anywhere near me. Please don't scare me. I might hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. I'm a nice person.
So is this what Becca is talking about? Those wristbands?
Yeah. So I know that I'm one of the reasons they did their first one and didn't think about having wristbands for people that don't want to be scared, and now they do. So I'm like, I feel like I've done a service to all other actors in these Fright Nights by punching one of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh. All right. So, David, if Chris ever does hit you because you scare him, let us know. We'll take care of him.
It'll be his own fault.
It'll be his own fault. Yeah.
Don't scare me. Don't. It's really simple. Don't scare me, and I won't hit you.
I kind of want to see it though.
I know. It kind of like once you kind of want to like go there to see.
Yeah.
Just what it would. I think I'll do that. You know, on the Saturday after IAPA Expo, I'll.
Yeah. Note to self: buy pig mask.
No, I wouldn't ever do that.
I'm just gonna show up to like IAPA with the pig mask on and just be like, "What's up?"
You know that section of IAPA down the end where they have the zombie walkthrough bit, and you can go and take your picture of it. Like there was one year where you could hold Rick from The Walking Dead's gun and hold it to the head of the zombie, and it's got all the guts as the photo op. And I thought that's a fantastic photo op from 2 aisles over. And note to self: do not go anywhere near that area. And I went out of one of the doors, like a bit further down on that concourse, and went for a cigarette. And I took a phone call and walked back in by that door. And I literally walked in. I've got to go literally straight back out up the escalators and round because I don't know if they've got any actors in there, and I'm not wearing anything that says I won't. That says "Don't scare me or I'll hurt you." So I was like, I'm just going to take myself out of the situation and just about turn. So I literally got my badge scanned and then looked at the guy, looked at where I was going. I went, nope. I walked straight back out. And I must have looked like such a weirdo. He's like, you're coming into IAPA. That's fantastic. Beep. And I'm like, nah, pass. Terrible.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right. So what else do you do, Pana?
Let's see. Well, I have a background in media design, like media production. I was a visual effects guy and an editor for a little bit, and compositing, and I don't know. I've done a lot. I used to make commercials. I know that sounds weird, but like, you know, it's well, I got pretty decent at telling my story in about 30 seconds. So, I mean, it's fun, and I've done a number of things when it comes to like actually like sort of video production. Like I worked as a I worked at a dental education company filming and editing surgeries for dentists.
Oh my
That
god.
sounds riveting.
It was exciting. Someone's like, you know, the bottom of their jaw pulled from under, like they make an incision and they pull it down over there. It's exciting. It makes you want to eat, like, you know, lasagna or something, right? Like you look at it, you're like, hey, same colors.
Well,
Ripping someone's face apart, and he's just like, wouldn't that be nice?
That's how I know I'm destined to work in horror nights, because
That's it. That's why you became a chef, right? So you can understand how animals come apart, so that you can recreate that in a horror night.
Well, that just makes me sound like a psycho, man. Like I'm like torturing animals in the backyard or something just to find out what it's like.
Oh no, they've already been humanely culled by the time that you get hold of them, and then you're just like, I wonder what would happen, like trying to create a compound fracture in a chicken leg so that you know what it looks like.
You said it, not me.
So my thought there was, we really need to stop being so gory, gross, disgusting, because I am going to, at some point when I'm drinking my wine, spit it out at the computer because I'm so grossed out, and I get totally grossed out at horror stuff. Like I can't watch horror movies. I can't, like, bloody. I can't even, like, you know, a movie. There's like movies with lots of blood. Kill Bill.
Oh, that's fine.
There's like lots of blood in Kill Bill.
Yeah,
Or Japanese movies that have samurai movies that have like spitting blood like that.
You want a bit of battle royale?
That.
It's all the Japanese.
Oh yeah, the collar.
Yeah, greatness. What about one of the ones, Cynthia, like the Chucky films, or I won't watch?
No. I do not watch horror movies. I cannot.
Someone's Achilles tendon with shears and just goes, and they fall over.
Okay,
I cannot.
Cynthia, I've got one for you to watch that it's so cheesy that it's comical at this point. It's called Chopping Mall. Look it up, watch it. It is fantastic.
You know, Pana, I will look for it. I will write it down on my movies to watch. What is it called again?
Chopping Mall. It's like an 80s film that is just really, really badly, like, kind of. I mean, I remember watching when I was a kid. We used to talk about this at horror nights all the time. Like these weird. Everyone there has a fascination with like really cheesy 80s horror films or earlier, where pre-good effects, you know?
Yeah. I remember when I was in high school, so in the late 80s, there was a horror movie night, and all I remember is it was a cabin in the woods, and there was this blonde girl with a brunette and some other girl with 3 other guys, and they went to this cabin, and someone got obviously killed, and people were dropping off one by one, and this blonde girl decides that she needs to go to her car to get something alone, all by herself. And I'm like, why do they do this? It's just ridiculous. And of course, the only thing that I remember after that is she got attacked, survived, but she had her shirt ripped off by whatever was out there. And so she was naked boobed. Here we go. Back with the boobs.
My boobs
Didn't have a shirt on.
My knockers.
What?
So
My boobs, my boobies, my knockers.
So the girl had her boobies, her boobs, her knockers out in the open. And all of the guys that we were watching the movie with were like, oh. And that's all I remember from the only horror movie that I watched when I was in high school. And it took me 5 sittings to watch The Shining.
Shining's
I had
great.
to stop it. No, it is a good movie. I read the book like 3 times, but I couldn't watch the movie. And I had to stop it and then start it up again, an hour later during the day. I have to watch it during the day. I cannot.
So The Shining falls into the category of your paranormal activities, where I'm just like, this is so boring, but also hilariously bad. And I don't get what the thing is about The Shining that makes it so amazing and perfect.
Really? Oh,
I just don't get it. It's like, I'm like, I get that I'm wrong. I accept that my opinion on this matter is wrong, and the rest of the world thinks it's amazing. But I'm just like, what?
We'll have to talk about that another time. Because no. You have to understand. The Shining is an excellent movie, and the book is amazing. But I mean, yeah, oh my God, The Shining is like an art. It's an artwork. It's wonderful. It's like
So my brother does all of this cinematography and editing, directing kind of stuff, and he tells me I'm wrong all the time. And I like explosions and whodunits. I like thrillers and I like action films and the occasional comedy. Horror as a genre, I just don't understand. I don't want to cack my
understand it either. I mean, but
Well,
but Shining isn't horror.
yeah.
Shining is suspense.
That's it. The suspense is lost on me. There is no point in that film where I felt suspenseful.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
you have no soul, Chris.
we know I don't have a soul. That's why I'm here.
All right. So, Pana, tell us how. Tell us how you got into your career. What were the milestones?
Well, let's see. About 2015, I was sitting around. I was working at that dentist company. I was like, "Is this as good as it gets for me?" And I thought, no, And then for some reason, I got this like weird idea that I was just gonna quit my job and go back to grad school, or go to grad school. And then like a little message or whatever, I got this like email from SCAD that said like, oh, they have a new themed entertainment program. And, like a billion other people out there, I was like, I'm going to go and become an Imagineer, yeah. And so I just dropped everything, gave up everything, moved to Savannah, lived in, basically was eating ramen again. And finally just got out, and I don't know. It's a weird story that like it was. I just got sick of what I did, So I just decided to do something else.
But why themed entertainment? Why were you attracted to that?
Oh, because it was a big part of my childhood. Like I remember I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, what do I want to do to change my career? And I thought the happiest times I remember is hanging out with my brother, just a couple of little kids running around the parks because my mom dropped us off and we would just like wander around as teenagers. And so that was what I remember being happiest. And so I thought, okay, I'll give that a try. Not knowing that like, of course, like it's sort of a very specialized, sought after kind of career path. And now here I am, made it happen.
So along the way, once you made those once you made that choice to come into Think Entertainment, what are some of the like challenges that you've had to manage or cope with along the way, other than massive financial problems with every kind of university thing that ever happens? Because I hate universities.
So I guess let's see. There was always like this sort of issue of like an age gap, right? Because I re-entered the workforce as like a 40-year-old, working, with a 20-year-old. So like there was this level of people sort of take you. I don't know. People take you more seriously when you're older. Even though I'm green as all heck, right? Coming into this industry, but I don't know half the stuff like some of these guys half my age are doing. So there's that. I mean, there's just a number of different like challenges. A lot of it also, of course, was just like trying to find work or getting on different projects, and constantly because it's very much a project-based thing, right? Like you're either good for a project or you're not. And so I just always thought like, hey, with this broad spectrum of things I can do, but like, you sort of have to pick and choose what it is you like to do and what you're good at, and sort of help that lead you in the right direction, I believe. I know that sounds really great.
It's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, it is. Totally. I think it's, I always like, I hire people, and I always hire people that, I try to hire people that don't have a smooth career path. I don't know how to explain it in other words. I like people that have had to, reassess and redo things and set themselves outside of their comfort zone. And I will say that you cannot be subject to your life. You have to be the subject of your life. And it's something that is so important for me. That's like one of the the top values that I've tried to teach my children, that you do not have to be subjected to your life. And
not hiring simplicity as well. Like,
sorry?
Not hiring simplicity. Like, when I have the few times been brought into the situation of an interview for someone to come and work for DGW, I've never erred on the side of someone that like everything's just in order, because this is a very disordered industry, and you need to know how to roll with the punches and move quickly and adapt.
Yeah,
someone that hasn't had the lessons earlier in life doesn't know how to adapt as quickly. But then I also have the thing of like when if I ever get to the point where I'm employing people and I've got I'm hoping a pile of resumes in front of me, I want to do that thing that I've seen so many times, and I have sort of done it once before, but it was between 3, so it doesn't count. So you got like 50 resumes, and I just want to throw half of them in the bin straight away because I don't want to work with unlucky people. That's my point. That's my area of the industry, though. Like, I get lucky a lot. Like a lot of the things that I'm like, oh, that was lucky, but don't know how I fixed that. That's come about and it's fixed. Isn't that amazing? I picked the right bit of equipment at random, as opposed to following it through. I was like, I reckon it's that, and it almost always is.
I like how your methodology is super technical there. You just...
There's an expression in French that says j'ai le cul bordé de nouilles. I have my ass is filled with noodles.
Please write that in the chat so that I can English it. It's like my favorite thing to do.
It's because that's it. It's my ass is filled with noodles. J'ai le
no,
cul bordé de
no.
nouilles.
I want to pronounce the French wordage.
Oh, okay. And it just means that you're super lucky.
You're lucky to have your ass.
No one else sees this chat because it is our private chat. But anyway, j'ai le cul
Jailer Curl Baldy Denoyes. Oh. Avoya Le Curl Baldy Denoyes.
Yes, that means I'm a lucky fucker.
That's what I said. Did you hear it? I just literally said
Yes, I heard it. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's great. And so, you know, you have your ass filled with noodles.
Let's not go down that avenue.
We're not going down there. We are not going down that road. Cynthia, what were you thinking? Anyway, Pana, you have built scenes. And obviously, have you built scenes? Yeah.
Like so physically built them?
Yeah, physically.
Oh.
Do you? Have you?
I do more design work side of it.
You do the design. You don't build.
Yes.
All right. So what other challenges have you noticed? I mean, when you're working, like you were talking in the pre-show about issues with you know, sometimes when clients don't know how to say what they need. And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with that once you're confronted with it?
I think oftentimes as designers, we try to, you know, there's a level of politeness there when you're dealing with like, you know, a client or whatever, but you have to understand that they don't do what we do, you know, so you don't always speak the same languages, right? And so sometimes you just have to coax it out of them and like get them to spit it out a little bit more, or sort of guide them in the right direction of what is feasible within their budget. You know, say, you know, you got to sell on your part too. You can't just like wait for this input to happen. And I think a lot of designers out there are very like, you know, afraid to like speak up and just like, you know, give their opinion on it. Cause like, you know, obviously it's someone else's money that's building something. Right. But as the designer, they've already hired you and your expertise, you know, and that sort of is lumped into the dollar sign that you've already given them. So if you want to like say something and guide them in the right direction, you can't just discredit them for just like, you know, not knowing. I mean, we oftentimes like, you know, make suggestions based off of what we like or what, you know, or they'd often do that too, but it's not always the best choice, right? Sometimes the best choice is something that you didn't think of or that comes later by happenstance or by someone else's expertise, and maybe you're too close to the project. So
what is it that you like the most about the jobs that you do?
I like building stuff that like I guess people experience and just like it changes them. Like, you know, Chris was describing how he walked through some like horror maze and it like traumatized him. If someone told me that, like, oh my God, I walked through, you know, a maze that you worked on and it traumatized me, then I did my job right. You know, like, or like, you know, when you see like a little kid walking through the park and they're having the best day of their lives, you did your job right. Right. Or someone standing in front of that dragon on Diagon Alley and it's like, oh my, and they're staring at it for like minutes on end and they'll wait for the next flame burst to come out. You did your job right.
I've done that. I literally, the first time I saw that, we ran into the park. I think it was on an IAPA event, so it was dark, and I saw the flame go off from outside of the park. Like you saw the light cone come up. I need to find out what that was. My brother and sister were like, "We need to go on the ride now." I'm like, "No, I'm standing here and I'm waiting to see what that was. I'm guessing it's the dragon." But so I stood there, and then it went off, and I became like a 6-year-old all of a sudden. I was like, "That's so cool."
It's that ability to sort of transform and take someone out of their own reality and put it in yours, you know, or the one you've created. and that suspension of disbelief is really like my favorite part of it. Seeing it in their faces, because you don't get that doing dentistry videos. You don't get that making television commercials, where you can actually just like every now and again. I love walking out into the park and just seeing people's reactions to things, because that's how you figure out what works and what doesn't. But also, it's like the idea that a chef oftentimes will. Well, hold on. Let me say this. If I had to ask you what the most important job in a commercial kitchen is, what would you say?
The one who cuts and prepares the fruit, the vegetables. The one that prepares everything before it gets cooked.
Chris, any guesses?
I would say the people cleaning it.
You're kind of right. It's the dishwasher. And the dishwasher is there because
Go on, David.
Because he can see what people are eating and what people aren't, what's coming back to the kitchen. And that's like the same thing. You walk out into the park, you can sort of see on people's faces what works and what doesn't, right? And it helps you become a better designer, sort of reading what is almost like what is trending, but that's not really the case either. What's enjoyable, So.
That's
a tidbit of information.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I like that. That was really cool.
Yeah,
that's an analogy.
It is really cool, like when you. So I write, and I've translated a couple of things, and rides. And when you're in the ride and you're seeing people listening to your words or reading your words, and you see them laugh at your joke, and you're like, yes, that. I think that. We don't need drugs in our business, because that's our drug. That is definitely the high that we get. It's the adrenaline. Seeing that pleasure. And I remember going to Diagon Alley the first time, and I just sat down in this like central part where I could see a bunch of the kids just going about, wanding away and discovering this and running that way, and Mom, look, just going batshit crazy over everything that was there, and seeing the kids wearing their house gowns. Yes, exactly, Chris, your wand. And I sat there. I think I must have sat there for like 3 or 4 hours, just watching people and seeing how they interacted with everything. And I think it's amazing how the work of these designers affects lives. And you remember as a kid running through the parks, and I don't think you actually thought about, I know I didn't, about all of the people that created all of this stuff. It was just too magical to have been created by someone. It was, it was just there, and it was this amazing world that we were able to visit in a day. And I think that's really one of the powerful things that we have in our business. Yeah, really.
Totally agree with that.
People watching. Exactly. Yeah. Sarah, exactly. It is I really, it's one of the favorite things that I do in parks.
I have a different way of looking at, if I'm going to a park, I am entirely disinterested in every other human being in there, because I've spent my money going to that park. So I want to enjoy it myself. And the way that I do that is by hitting all of the rides as quickly as possible with almost military precision, not looking at anything around me. Like, I need to get to that queue, I need to be in that queue, and that queue better be less than 40 minutes, or I will find a way. And we did the whole of Universal Studios Island of Adventure in a morning on an IAPA. And we literally got in as soon as the rope dropped. We were in and hitting rides, and it was me, my brother, and my dad, who are all tall and can walk very fast. And we're going to go there, keeping an eye on the app and looking at the queue times, and knowing ways around of the rules. Like the Harry Potter ride that had a 3.5-hour queue because it was the original one in Hogwarts. That was the new ride, and that had a 3-4 hour queue all day. And we said we weren't going to do that, so we went and had a look around and realized that a lot of the queue was outside of the queue area. But if you go to the shop, you could walk into the lockers and then walk out of the lockers into the ride queue. And it only took half an hour from that point. So we did that ride twice that day.
You are so bad. How did you do that?
Because there's ways around things to make sure that
I need to go to parks with you, Chris.
You literally did. You and I have been to that park together, and I suggested doing this, and then the ride queue was actually short enough that it was going to be fine anyway. But there's always a way. There's always a way around managing something, and it's either like go at lunchtime or go when parades are on, and so you go and do the smaller ticket rides around something like the Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the ride queue is consistently moving, and you go do that in a day, and then your big hitters and the one in Magic Kingdom, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That's in the kids area, so go for that when the main parade is on in the middle of the afternoon, because most people are sat there. It brings the ride queue time down. They don't change the ride queue time. They still say it's 3 hours, but you know damn well it's going to be about 20 minutes. So there's ways of managing parks and getting around everything quickly.
But you know what?
You need to write a manual.
There's different thoughts of which way you go round a park, and we've decided that you don't go as particular clockwise or anti-clockwise. You just go for what you need to go at the times based on shows and experience.
You were saying, Pana?
I was going to say, as a designer, though, like a lot of your methodology of like going through the queue line as fast as you can, you miss so much, though. There's like, the theme park design students are like, we pour over like queue lines. Like, I remember going through like Reign of Kong and just being like floored by this, right? Like, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, if you went through like, Fast Pass or whatever, you would never get this experience. And sometimes the best thing you can do is wait in an hour-long line just to see all, because, in an industry where we sort of always say that we tell these amazing stories, right? The stories sometimes start at the entrance of the queue. And it tells all the way through the story of the queue onto the ride and culminates, of course, when you get off.
But you do that once. Like, because I'm a repeat theme park fiend.
Oh yeah, if you do that once,
I'll go and do the queue once. So I've understood and I've absorbed the story. I've absorbed everything that's there. And again, going through the queues in the Harry Potter bit, I'm not interested in the queue outside down the street. Like the walkthrough bit, I'm quite happy to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll do that at rope drop, so that then I can get there first and I can walk through that, not stand in that for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because although parks are getting better and better and better, Gringotts is the perfect example. I'm quite happy to queue for the Gringotts ride, because the queuing area for that is second to none. That is absolutely the best queuing experience that there is. Because each time you can notice something different, you're so enveloped with everything around you. And I'm a massive Harry Potter fan anyway, but I don't want to do that in like Cat in the Hat to go down the log flume. I don't like the Hulk. I don't need that in my life. The reason I'm going on the Hulk is for that roller coaster.
Yeah, of course.
Not for the story. but once I've done it once, I'm out. But then if I've done that ride, or sorry, if I've done an experience or I've done a park that I've been part of creating, then I don't want to go and do the rides. I want to sit and watch the exit and see what the faces are, which brings sort of, I went on a massive tangent, but that's what I was getting back to. If I've been part of building it, then I want to see what people's reaction is to it.
Yeah, why? That's normal. That's normal. Pana, I did want to ask you what are some of the things that excite you when you start a new project? I mean, what is when you've got something new, what totally gets your ticker going?
The potential of what it could be, right? Like, or I make this joke with my buddy Paul back home in Atlanta. He's like sort of my little cosplay buddy. And we always used to start like, every sentence or, sentence with, hey, it'd be really cool though. And of course you fill in the blank, right? And you go, I didn't know at the time, but that's pretty much thought process, right? You go into a room with a whole bunch of people and they're like, okay, we want to build something that is with this IP or whatever. And you're like, hey, it'd be really cool. And you think about the most outlandish thing in the world. This whole blue sky moment, like, flying this and dragons and fire and whatever. And then, of course, it gets down to like what we have. But that initial, like, this absolute like explosion of creativity from everyone's part, people just throwing out like outlandish, things and everything. It's the greatest thing in the world. It gets me so amped, like, because then you're like, you get to see it all and you're like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. And then like someone else will say something like, oh, that's even better, but yeah.
So do you have an idea of what kind of project you would like to work on that would like, there's if there were no budget limitations, what your dream project would be?
Oh gosh. I love classic dark rides. I feel like, coasters are fun. Don't get me wrong. Coasters are really super fun just because like it's a thrill like no other, especially the ones like Universal, and they tell the stories and all this stuff. But somehow the classic dark ride lets you take it all in. Because sometimes you're riding a coaster and it's like, what was that? But like Hagrid's, right? Hagrid's has so much to see if you're not rocketing off at like 1 billion miles per hour. So like that sort of classic omni-mover type ride, like a la like Haunted Mansion or whatever, allows you to sort of take it in at a good steady pace and just like, all right, yeah, okay. Sarah.
Does Spider-Man and Transformers, do they count as dark rides to you?
I would. It's kind of this weird line, right? It's like it's a thrill ride, but at the same time, it's very much a dark ride. It tells a more sort of complex story, especially Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man a lot, just because at the time when it came out, it was like just a marvel of theme park, ingenuity.
Oh, yeah, mind blowing.
Yeah, no, it was. It was
utterly mind blowing.
And then it ranks up there as one of my favorite rides in the park.
I think Transformers took away from Spider-Man and its brilliance, because Spider-Man was right up there with. So my running order is my favorite theme park experience is Fantasmic, bar none. My second favorite is the Hulk, just for how gut wrenching it is, and I love it. And my third is Spider-Man. Or always was until Transformers got put in, and it's like it's the same. And it just took so much of the wonder out of Spider-Man that it was like, oh, well, this is disappointing. And then the Harry Potter parts opened up, and Gringotts is just sublime.
Between the two, though, I do think that Spider-Man is the superior experience.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. To completely agree.
Yeah.
But because it's the same sort of ride idea.
Right. But then, like, yeah, you're right, though. Harry Potter came around and it just, like, blew everything else, like, kind of out of the water in terms of, like, immersiveness. And, I mean, the first time you walk into Diagon Alley, you're just like, what the crap just happened? Like, this is what, you know?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I didn't think that anyone could top the experience of amazement that I had walking into Diagon Alley. But I have to say that Star Wars Land got me there. It's just all of the detail, and I really enjoyed it. I just loved all the detail. I couldn't imagine.
I like the detail of the area, but I needed the ride to pick me up in a better way than it did.
I don't know. I guess I'm easily amazed, but I loved the ride. I thought that the ride was really fun and interactive.
The Falcon one, not the new one.
No, the Falcon one, yeah.
Yeah. I think I was heavily disappointed with that because I was sat in the wrong seat.
Wow.
And I was with my little sister's fiance, and Mike had the controls that I wanted. And that ruined it for me.
You have to share.
No, because this is when I'm doing a ride for the first time, I want my selfish experience. I want that to be about me and my experience, not a group experience. That's mission space territory, where you just all make yourselves feel sick if someone doesn't press their button at the right time.
I did that with you. I did that one with you.
Because no one else will. They're like, oh, that's going to make me sick. I say, it won't make you sick. Just press your damn button at the right time. And there we are on the Millennium Falcon, and I've literally got the left and the right. And I'm like, this isn't engaging me, because, if I'm not in control of, how fast we're moving, no, I don't like to share. He's damn right. I want to be in charge of speed, and then I will make the speed right to the person sat next to me that's doing the lefty righty. If they're capable, then I will go faster. But
oh my goodness.
I'm trying to figure something out, and all I wanted to do was punch light speed. That's all I wanted to do.
Right?
It's not. That wasn't my seat.
Just slap it.
It made me so angry.
What is your favorite themed experience?
Well,
or your top 3. I won't make you choose your favorite child. What's your top 3?
Top 3. I love Flight of Passage, just because it incorporates everything. The senses, like these smells and some sort of 4D elements. I once described it as the closest you can get to dreaming with your eyes open. Because that's what it feels like, my 80-year-old mother wrote it. First off, I thought she was gonna freaking keel over and die, but because I put an 80-year-old woman on a freaking banshee. But no, she came off as she wanted to ride it again, because she was like, I never thought in my lifetime I'd be able to get the sense of what it feels like just to fly.
Do you not think that the banshee needed where you sit on the breathing breast of the thing? Do you not think it needed its head out in front of you? Your banshee needed to have its head.
I don't think so. I mean, it didn't bother me at all. And
it didn't bother me, but I was with people the first time that I rode it, and there was 4 or 5 of them that were quite disappointed that it was a headless chicken that we were riding.
Now that you say it, yeah, it could have been. It would have added to the experience. That is one of my top 3, also. Actually,
it's a beautiful ride. Anyway,
carry on. Yes.
Let's see. What else do I really like? I do like Expedition Everest. And I'll be honest with you, pretty much just for the queue line. Just because I love the weird authenticity that goes into that queue line that makes it just like absolutely like just fun to walk through and see. You know, it is. I mean, it literally looks like some little shanty village thing that you walk through, and it's great. See, and probably lastly, I do love Haunted Mansion, and I will ride that every day that I go to the park until the day I die or it gets, you know, taken down. Because I don't know, there's some obsession that a lot of people have with it, and I probably share that with them.
Yeah, there are a bunch of rides.
That is the best Pepper's Ghost.
What's that?
That's the best Pepper's Ghost, I think.
Yeah.
The Gringotts one is gorgeous, but it's not physical, and that's what makes the Haunted Mansion one so much more special to me. Anyway, I do love that ride. My brother loves it even more. We have to go and do it just for him.
Yeah,
I like the gag. That is one of the queue areas I'm happy in, because all of the tombstone gags all the way through the queuing area. I love that. Yeah. And I always pick a different one. Just as long as we don't end up playing heads up, like the Toy Story queue. That's one where I'm just like, there's too many colours and too many screaming kids. So our group ends up playing heads up on our phone with a battery pack on it because it never lasts the day. And then we end up, because of the way that the queue is so double stacked through everything, we end up with like 6 or 7 deep down the queue line of families all playing heads up and screaming things out to people.
And then you do that thing where you see it and you're just like, I knew that one.
Yeah. The funny thing about that is that the massive cultural differences that you get in a queue in a theme park, where someone's just like, how's he not getting this? And the whole group of that family are like, this guy's an absolute idiot. He knows nothing about the world. And I'm just like, now I feel bad for playing my own game on my own phone. I'm so sorry. And then you go on there, and that particular one is very much tossing something off. Like that, you know, when you've got to get the rings on the things and you've got to shoot the things, and my sister always wins at that somehow. And I'm really good at Buzz. Buzz is my one. I'm really good at Buzz and Men in Black. They're my two sort of shooty game ones. But that Toy Story one, my sister always wins.
Yeah, Men in Black is fun too. I always like that one.
It's funny. I've never been on the Men in Black one.
Next time I
remember it.
Yeah.
I know. I do. I need to get back on. I need to get back on the rides. Even if I don't take the rides, I need to go in the queues, because sometimes I don't. I'm afraid for my back, so I don't go to all of them. But what did I want to say? I did want to say something and I forgot now. Yes, but now, serious question. If you could tell yourself something when you were your younger self, what would you tell your younger self about work and professional life?
So I would just say be patient. I graduated from SCAD in animation in 2000, and for the longest time I struggled. Animation wasn't necessarily my thing too. I was a texture artist, 3D texture artist, right? So, and work for being a texture artist is you don't see it every day. So I got very frustrated, and I would take these kind of lame jobs, and which, to stay afloat, you do these things, but you shouldn't necessarily settle. I guess that's what the rule is, don't settle. Don't stop trying to become who you want to be because everyone says you can't. I defied the odds by basically giving up my previous life, starting over at the age of 40, and I'm absolutely happy right now. And a lot of people, it doesn't happen for a lot of people. It also takes a lot of guts to just like be like, well, selling the farm, because just be patient, because it will happen. That's my bit of advice to a younger version of me.
Do you want to pull up some? We'll pull up some of the pictures that you've given us so that we can talk about them a little bit more. I think, because be patient, it'll happen, and you've literally brought up the world of different photos of different parts of so these Death Eaters. What's going on?
So they had a Death Eaters live show during the Dark Arts show. It was like it happened right before the Dark Arts show. But I had done the show set for this little platform, which had to be built so that to accommodate sort of steam effects and all this stuff from underneath. Which we joke around about the Harry Potter area where we always say like boxes and barrels and ropes, because pretty much the whole land is boxes and barrels and ropes. I don't know why they would need so many boxes, barrels, and ropes, but it happens. The kind of cool thing about this is that like it went from concept to sort of a completed concept or a completed show in about 2 weeks time. It was
Jesus.
The turnaround for it was ridiculously fast. And we pulled it out. Like, some of us like I just remember like designing so many of these like just prop boxes, barrels, and ropes. I was also working with facility and trying to get all these things worked out, like, accommodating fogger machines and pyro and all that stuff too. So props to the tech team as well.
So the next one that I want to talk about in the ones that you've given us is the Undead Vikings image and where that came from, and specifically your part in it.
So this scene here, there's a big stone cauldron there that I sort of worked on. A lot of the weird set pieces in this are kind of like, especially this one. It had one of the most gruesome things, which is like this blood eagle thing of someone basically having their ribs or something like that cut, and the person behind there is being flayed, obviously.
Yeah.
But this little cauldron area was where this performer was doing her thing, and basically just like interacting with the crowd as they walked by. This was a scare zone, but I mean, really, in particular, I just like this scene just because it was so gruesome, and I honestly didn't think that any of this stuff actually happened until you look it up, and it's like decently kind of historical that like Vikings could torture the crap out of people.
So on this specific project, can you just give us a little sort of a day in the life of whilst you were working on it?
Yeah, sure. So this was I would come in. I did mostly color elevations and finishes, right? So I would come in and they would give me like a CAD drawing, and then I would just sort of do my research as to what kind of finishes would be period and geographically appropriate, and obviously historically accurate as well, and then do the color finishes and color callouts so that the scenic teams and construction teams could actually recreate this. That's really about it. I mean, on this particular one, I did not draw it. But
so you were literally going through. So just for the viewers that don't know what CAD is, computer-aided design drawing.
Yes.
You were given that, and then you were specifying. Am I correct? Like you were specifying the color palette, and you were specifying, or were you doing?
I was doing it too. We also, what it is that it gets this sort of scene, this elevation will get rendered as it should appear, right? Sometimes under specific lighting conditions or not, so that the scenic crew has a good idea of how to finish, because like, those rocks could be any number of fabrication materials that clearly unfinished don't look like rock. So we have to make it look like rock with, say, like lichen on it or anything like that. So that's really it. Like, we would render in Photoshop, we would apply textures. You can have a call out that says something like, finished as water damaged rotten wood. And then you would sort of give them a swatch as to what water damaged rotten wood looks like. So
is this a walkthrough experience? What?
Yeah, sort of. It's a scare zone. So it's just an area of the park that guests would walk through to on their way to other things. And there are scare actors in there who are, going
to get punched in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Getting punched in the face, or potential to get punched by British people.
I'm not a violent person. I've literally punched 2 people in my life. One of them, unfortunately, was an actor, and the other one was me being an obstreperous little person at school.
Oh,
but he deserved it. He kicked me like 8 times before I snapped. So I'm not a violent man, but if it's a response, then I have to.
He definitely had it coming.
He did. So we're gonna have to have Cynthia walk through one of your experiences. I think we should do a special Unsung Heroes walkthrough where Cynthia and I, because I'm terrified by this stuff, and Cynthia will throw up at this stuff. So, I can't think of a worse combination. So we could just go do one of Panar's experiences that he's been working on, and then we'll go do that as part of an IAPA if it's still running after or we'll just have to go early November, celebrate my birthday by scaring the living shit out of me.
Hey, I bought my tickets already. I've got my hotel reserved. I have my tickets. Oh, nice. I am arriving on Sunday, the 14th of November.
I don't even know if I'm going this year. I don't know if I'm allowed to or what. I don't hold the purse strings at my company. So Pinar, I work for my parents in audiovisual consultancy and integration, and I personally work in show control.
Oh, fun!
Project management, and I've done all bits of it, but that's my passion area is making everything come together under show control. I love it.
Important.
I think I've said that before on Unsung Heroes. Anyway, I've got one more question before we run into our super fun times. We're at an hour and a half already as well. Good app. We're on a good app.
Goodness.
So, Pinar, if you could change something about our industry, like what would it be, or what do you think that we are lacking as an industry the most?
And this sort of is I don't even. Did I miss something?
Wrong question.
Oh.
This is the right question now.
This is the right question.
So I guess this one hits a little bit close to home as well. But like, inclusivity, right? Inclusiveness is that like, and we're starting going in the right track, right? Like, for an industry that sort of prides itself on storytellers, the more people and types of, and cultures that we include, we have this broader range of things and stories that we can tell and draw from. Like sort of this industry is, for the most part, it was, and that is changing, of course, dominated by, white male, whatever. But now, we're seeing a lot of these stories that come into play, and socially the world is changing, and it's up to us to sort of adapt with it. I know for a fact that like there are stories from my youth, like of like Thai, things like mythology and stuff like that that I feel that would make a great ride, or a great
story.
Some sort, yeah, and everyone's sort of got their everyone sort of got their story, and like, and every one of them deserves to be heard, not just, the stories about like, American culture or, and we're sort of, like I said, we're sort of in the right direction, but like we'd be better off as an industry if we just included cultures and different lifestyles of people and like the sort of people's personal life experiences and share that with the world. There would be a better understanding of who people are and how we view them. Because our venue of choice when we build something is that we actually give people the opportunity to sort of walk a mile in their shoes, right? We deal in immersiveness and suspension of disbelief and all that stuff too, but it gives us an opportunity to create a way that people coming to this can experience life as a Thai person, or like what it is and what kind of stories we tell. I think that's the most important thing that I would probably change about this industry, and we're on the right track, and that makes me extremely happy. So there you go.
I think it's a shame that
fantastically answered just before Cynthia chips in. That's fantastically answered.
Thanks.
It's powerful, and I think that what has always made me wonder that so Disneyland's all over the world. They've got Disney's all over, and they have rides that are culturally specific. And when I went to Disneyland in Hong Kong, I was like, this could definitely come to Disneyland in Orlando or Disneyland in the US, and it would serve so much. It would be an educational awakening for so many Americans to see how things are done differently elsewhere, see what stories are being told elsewhere, and to learn from those. And I don't understand why we have to have stories for the parks in China and stories for the parks in Japan when Americans and everyone, I mean, Chinese can benefit from American stories, although through movies, they already know our stories or have a lot of access to our stories, I'm going to say. But we don't, as Americans, we don't have, and even Europeans don't have this access to, stories from all over the world, stories from Latin America, stories from Asia.
Someone is making an assumption, like somewhere there's an assumption being made that someone that is visiting Disneyland Paris doesn't want to have a story told. But the thing that I don't get is most of Disney, I say most of because it is most of, is based on European and specifically German and French fantasies. And if you boil all of the stories down, that's where they come. That's the sort of the generic area of where they come from. And yes, they're going further afield with things recently like Moana, which is a fantastic, beautiful film, and it is also showing a bit of a culture, but it's not being presented as it's being presented as a cartoon culture, not as an actual culture of and
yet it's set in Hawaii,
and then the only thing that we get out of Disney for I guess what we call the Far East is Mulan, and that's the stats that flip around that film is like, oh, that's the first time that Disney has ever had a princess murder someone, and it's all very negative in the press, and it's always presented as like there's not to my knowledge, is there a Mulan ride anywhere?
I don't believe so.
No. But can you imagine a Moana wayfinding ride where you all end up on your raft that is going to be obviously a motion base, And then you take the Spider-Man mechanic, make the motion base. I'm literally giving ideas to Disney now, and they're going to steal them. But you've got that on a motion base, and you've got the same idea as the Millennium Falcon ride, but in a much more grandiose scale, in a 180, like the sort of soaring dome.
Yeah.
And then you're playing that, and you're getting the water effects and the smells and all of that. You can have so much fun with that idea. And the parks need to start reflecting better culture, but not just specifically in the culture that they're in, as Cynthia was saying. Just let's take that out of wherever that would end up and put it everywhere. Because there are rides throughout all parks that it's a bit like, I'll do it because I can. Like one of my favorite ones, I love Epcot. I love Epcot because it is so country specific, but it's also country specific in American culture. And I wonder, I do wonder sometimes whether it's a little bit too much on some of them. But I will not go into the US part of Epcot. I walk straight through it every time because everything about it is cringy. It's like, it's a celebration. Yeah, 4th of July. Yeah, really?
I'm not saying anything about that, and too many of your viewers know. Just stay quiet.
That and the Hall of Fame, I can't cope with. Me as a foreigner, they are too American, and I just can't cope with it. And the Hillary Donald.
See, that's the beauty of doing something that, doing something so international as a Disney park or a Universal park or, whatever it is. You're going to bring people from different cultures, and you have to connect with all of them. And it cannot be. I don't think that it should be a centric on whatever country you're in, whether it's Disneyland Hong Kong or Universal Japan, whatever. I don't understand why. Some people will say, well, you have to cater to the majority of visitors, and the majority of visitors that you're going to get are going to be the nationality of the people that where the park is. So Universal Studio Japan is going to get more Japanese, so you got to cater to them. Hong Kong will get more Hong Kongese, because I don't want to go there either, in that political sphere. But that's the point of just saying, hey, well, wouldn't it be so much more interesting to introduce the Americans to a ride that would be typically Japanese, or the Chinese to a ride that's typically American, or the Americans to a ride that's typically Japanese? I'm just throwing it out there.
It's the Western world introducing itself across the planet, as opposed to going across the planet and introducing the rest of the planet to the Western world. And there needs to be a balance there that does. I don't know. We have cultural discussions are like one of my favorite things to have.
Well, I will say that, a good example that takes place in Disney parks is, and I learned this in show awareness when I was an intern, is that Adventureland, of course, is a exotic lands, right? But specifically set from the view of British colonialism, right? Yeah. But then you have in Animal Kingdom a version of Harambe, of course, Africa, that is so ridiculously spot on accurate about so much of it. And you can definitely, they both have the same or representations of that same sort of exotic culture. Only one is the view of, a fantasized view of British colonialism back in the day, and what is actually there.
The difference between the two is Animal Kingdom is so much newer, whereas Adventureland, that has that nostalgia of, right. For those that have been there before, I would genuinely be pissed off if I went in there and it didn't look like Adventureland, of course, because that's what I'm used to. But then they've got the newer parks, and they're constantly redesigning Hollywood Studios to fit with the times, and that park is always changing. Animal Kingdom is growing and growing, but I genuinely feel like Animal Kingdom is going to be because that blends seamlessly so much culture all around the world into one park. That's going to end up being Disney's #1 park, because it's the one that blends everything, and that's what the other parks need to lead by. But Magic Kingdom should stay exactly as Magic Kingdom is and update itself, yes, but keep your lands. Like Tomorrowland needs to stop having silly space gimmicks, but actually they could have Tomorrowland, but they could still turn that around and be like, no, we're looking at. They could make that focused on environmental issues if they wanted to. And they could say that this is what we need to be looking at in our future, not what we were hoping for. We want flying cars. No, fuck that. Let's stop killing polar bears. How about that?
Well, Tomorrowland is actually probably the only land that doesn't have a definite story behind it. The story of Tomorrowland is the story you make for yourself.
What a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. And I get
an animatronic of you and put him in there.
Carousel of Progress.
Oh my God, you've been to parks too many times to remember all of them.
Every ride. Outside of the water parks, I've done every ride in Disney Orlando, Disney World, and Universal Orlando. I've done all of them, except the water parks, because I don't like water. I'm not a very good swimmer.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, let's do fun stuff.
Let's do fun stuff.
Because we have run long already.
We have.
Anyway, goodness. I'm going in.
Go for it.
Because this is Unsung Heroes, we would like to know, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And why?
I would like to have some sort of healing factor.
Oh.
That way I could get stabbed and it'd be like, So
we're talking like Wolverine.
Yeah. But then I start to wonder, like, if that happened, like, I'm a diabetic. Like, is it retroactive? Like, if I got it yesterday, like tomorrow, would it still cure my diabetes, or everything after that?
No, but then a healing factor is anything that goes wrong is fixed.
Right. That'd be great, right?
So, like, yeah, every time Wolverine gets stabbed or cut or whatever, he's fine. Burnt, he's fine. It just heals itself and it's okay.
See, that sounds awesome.
Cancer? Nope. Yeah, done.
Right?
Why not just get yourself an adamantium skeleton as well, so you can be proper stabby to people?
Because I'm heavy enough.
Oh, just healing's enough.
Just healing, that's it.
Just
I don't want to meet the weight limit on certain things.
So a non-angry Wolverine is where we are. We're all about the healing. We're not about the stabbing.
It's a superpower based off of just in case.
Just in case. I like it.
Just in case. I have a question for you, a fun question. If you had to choose between being blind or deaf, which would you choose?
Little do you know, I'm already deaf in one ear. I would actually, I'm not going to say being deaf in one ear isn't that bad, because it does suck. People sneak up on me all the time. And my fiance constantly, I make her say what all the time. Like, what? She always has to walk on my right side. Definitely, I would rather choose that than being blind, because then I just wouldn't be able to work too. I mean, kind of hard.
Yeah, that's true.
So right. I reckon. So You have to this is my hypothetical as opposed to a fun question. So let me pose my hypothetical at you, and let's see how you do. So you must persuade the Friends cast to reunite and film one more episode. You have access to the old sets and Gunther. They have to let you write the episode. You can't pay them. They have to do it because they believe in the project. And you also have to convince them that you're going to play Monica. How do you do it?
Okay, first off, the Monica thing, I'd just be like, look, guys, I'm a chef already. And you know, I mean, that's a given, right?
Bravo.
So I think that, God, how would I coerce them into doing such a thing? Can we just be like, you know, hey, what if the Friends cast went to Disney World? I don't know. I mean, it's something dumb as like that, but like I honestly, God, this is gonna like fill up the rest of our time just sitting there trying to think of a way. Aside from that, you know, I don't really. Everyone gets a free puppy if you do this. You know, like what?
Everyone gets a free puppy.
I don't
They all
know.
paid $1 million an episode each for the last season. Everything's free to them.
A really nice puppy there.
Oh, a really nice puppy. Now we're talking.
Right?
That's cool. All right, I got one. If you could only watch movies or stream TV shows for the rest of your life, which would it have to be? Movies or TV shows?
It would have to be TV shows.
Why?
One specific TV show, which is probably Firefly.
Firefly.
Yeah, I could watch Firefly.
I didn't even know that. Okay, I have to add that to my list. I've never heard of Firefly.
But it's a cult classic. There is such a Firefly following. And then you've got your little twinges of the Firefly jokes in Big Mouth, which Cynthia, if you haven't watched Big Mouth, you have to watch Big Mouth on Netflix. Please add that, and I will even do a watch party with you to watch Big Mouth with you, because I know that you will probably wet yourself laughing.
That's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
First time I watched that show, I was in Saudi Arabia, and so this utterly, obviously, completely sober because there's no alcohol there. I was having to pause it to go to the toilet to wee because it was so funny. Like, I wasn't even drunk. I couldn't have possibly been drunk or stoned or anything other than me watching that completely perfectly. And Jesus.
Okay.
I love introducing people to it.
All right. We'll do a watch party.
Yay, fun times.
Goodness gracious. All right. Chris, next question.
Yeah, okay. So, Pana, if you were to write your own TV show, what would it be about? And what would its name be?
You know what? It's like, okay, so I once wrote a little weird like screenplay about my life at SCAD. And it was about basically not necessarily autobiographical, but it was about 3 artists who were clinically depressed unless they were all together, and then they had to face up to what graduation was going to make them, you know, how they were going to get through life basically without each other. And it was called Monochrome. There. And it's sort of autobiographical.
That was a weirdly apt question, because that's been on our list of our funnier questions and our more fun and more like crazy questions for however many, what we on episode 9. And we've never asked that question before.
It's true.
And he's always like, "Oh, I just wrote a screenplay. I've already done that."
That's kind of cool. I'd watch that. I think that'd be fun. Being from the industry, I think that would be fun. I have got a question, and Chris, I'm going to steal yours because I like it. And it is, if you were to ride into battle
Bitch.
on the back of an animal, yes, I know, what would it be? You're riding into battle on an animal.
I honestly think the only appropriate answer for me would be an armored panda.
No, I'm
Awesome.
a panda.
I mean,
Explain. How is it going to beat me on my polar bear?
well, first off, I mean, we're not okay. Yes, the polar bear would probably maul me to death, but I would get there with a really specific aesthetic that would not be beat. I mean, literally, I would have the banner that said Panda Express on the back of it as I rode it into battle, like all armored up. Maybe throwing out takeout boxes here and there, right? Or maybe
warming the troops.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Maybe offering samples,
Creating a diversion.
offering samples on little toothpicks to everyone.
Are they poisoned? Are you only offering them to the opposing team?
Oh no, just our people. You know,
No, just our people.
Oh, golden compass. See, except yeah. Well, that you're obviously for the polar bear thing. So, thanks, David.
Yeah.
For going against.
Also, the Explorers Club, they do have giant squids. I know that's a ridiculous. I don't even know why I brought that up. My cousin wrote a bunch of books about, and has written, and is still writing a bunch of books about the Explorers Club, and like it's sort of a kids' early teen thing, and they're fantastic books. I love them.
Oh, I love the Explorers Club.
I don't know the Explorers Club.
You surely have no. There's American Explorers Club, and then there's the books that my cousin's writing. And Pana, if you've read one of my cousin's books,
maybe I'm thinking of Society of Explorers and Adventurers, but that's a different thing. Oh, he's got one.
It's this kind of thing.
No, I don't. But if they're any good, I will gladly try to take a look.
Oh, they're absolutely brilliant. And in fairness, these are brilliant for the kids area, but she's done 2 books that were supposed to be part of a series that didn't take off, and they're my 2 favorite books ever in existence, and they beat Harry Potter for me, and they beat Lord of the Rings for me. It's Lex Trent is the name of the main character, and it's Lex Trent versus the gods, and Lex Trent and something else. And I read those books so often. I'm like, it's better than Harry Potter. And if they made movies of that, it would be amazing and magical and wonderful, and I'd love it. And I was reading this book. I was like, I cannot believe that my cousin came up with this idea, because I'm like, I'll read all of her books because I'm a family member. Like, I want to support her, so I buy every book that she writes, except for this one that she gave me, because it's I'm the dedication.
Oh,
look at you, big time over here.
I was like, all I want is more Lex Trents, and I keep saying to her, if I ever won the lottery, I would fund her writing Lex Trent books for the rest of her life, and she wouldn't have to worry about money as long as I got my books.
Wow.
Because I love the character, and I love the fantasy, the premise, and the structure. I love all of it, and I will put the links somewhere so that everyone else can just.
Please do. I'm kind of interested, actually.
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
You've piqued my curiosity. Chris, shall we go to our very last question?
Okay. So, Pana, if you were to have to wear a hat for the rest of your life, and you couldn't explain why you're wearing that hat, but you just had to wear it, would you pick the big hat or the little hat?
You know, I think I would have to say the little hat.
Now tell me why.
Because if you're going to do it, you might as well make it comical. Because because you know what, if you wear the big hat, people might be like, oh, are you some kind of like Abe Lincoln? Yeah. But if you wear the little hat, you're like, well, I am ready to party.
I mean, it is a dirty little party hat, isn't it?
Right?
It is. That belongs at the Ripley's party at IAPA.
You know what? When I come to IAPA, both of these hats are coming.
Yeah.
Just so I can stand on the TEA booth and be like, so what?
Awesome. I'm loving it. I am definitely loving it. Pana, we have reached the end of our show. Thank you so much for being on. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did.
I did.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
If you know of any other unsung heroes, we would love to meet them. And our audience, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and slightly press. No fondling, no fondling. We are slightly pressing. Thank you all for being with us today. Don't forget, make the world a better place. Go hug a hero. Bye, everybody.
Bye.